we have joining us head coach Al Bagnoli, along with offensive lineman Stu Newblatt and linebacker Scott Valentis. Let's see about bringing everybody in here with us. Coach Bagnoli, welcome to you. Always good to see you.
Hi, Jack. How are you?
I am good, thank you.
Great.
I think we've got your guys joining us here. So while we're getting them on board, Coach, let me start with you if I can. All right, we got Stu and Scott both with us. Gentlemen, welcome to both of you. We'll get to you in a second. Coach Bagnoli, let me start with you. And just some thoughts by you as you're heading into this next season at Columbia.
Well, I think I'm like most people at this time of the year, we're cautiously optimistic. You know, we have a good group of kids. We have good culture now that we've been cultivating for the last 2-3 years. And we have experience virtually at every position now, and it's a byproduct of continual recruitment. And so when you just look at the bigger picture, if you have kids that have had significant snaps, and we'll start off at quarterback, say with Joe Green, who's had now 10 games under his belt, at running back with Ryan Young, at receivers with 3 or 4 different kids who have played, you know, tremendous amount of football, at tight end with all the kids returning, in the offensive line, you know, at defensive line, kickers, linebackers such as Scotty, kids in the secondary. You know, this is about as experienced across the board. And so that gives us reason for optimism. And, you know, we've graduated some talented kids, and we've had kids move on to some prominent programs as graduate transfers, but we feel good about the young depth behind them, the younger kids that are ready, hopefully, to take the next step. So we look at it as, you know, trying to push the program as far as we can push it, making sure that, you know, we're ready to go logistically on Thursday when everybody reports, but also understanding that we should be the beneficiary of having spring football last year, which we didn't have the year before, having off-season workouts this past year, which we haven't had before in 2020 and 2021 spring. So we're optimistic. We're like everybody else.
Let me ask you about the development of the program since the time you've been there, and
Yep.
and it's kind of amazing to me how many years now you have been there.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, but you know, I think it's fair to say, you know, certainly, and for a long period of time before you got there, I think the pattern seemed to be for Columbia, they'd have a good season, they had a good collection of players, and then things would fall off for a while, and then maybe another good season would pop up. You're now have built, oftentimes people say have built a program, in the sense that, you know, you're 7-3 last year. That's not a surprise to anybody. The way some years back a Columbia team being 7-3 was, quite frankly, a surprise, and it's become consistent there. What do you think have been the most significant changes during the course of your tenure that has allowed Columbia to become now a consistent winner?
Well, I think it starts off with our players. They're, you know, and again, recruiting the right kind of kids, putting them in an environment for them to succeed, surrounding them with great people, whether it's your assistant coaches or whether it's your strength coaches or your nutritional people or your medical people. And I think I've tried to do all that. And to me, it's always been a great product. It's a phenomenal school, and arguably the most vibrant city in the world, certainly in the United States. So it's an opportunity for kids who want an urban setting, you know, to kind of get the best of everything. So it hasn't been an overly hard sell, to be honest with you. And then it's identifying the kids that you want in your program, and how do they fit, and what are the personal characteristics that you find to be important that you can build upon. And so I think we have a blueprint. We had it at Penn, and we're pretty much trying to follow that same blueprint at Columbia, and then getting kids that are really passionate about football. You know, they're certainly coming here for other reasons besides football, but football now is front and center of a lot of kids' decision. And I think that's proven to be very beneficial as well. And, it's been a culmination of a lot of things, facility improvements, budgetary improvements. But I think at the core, it's finding the right kids, it's developing them and surrounding them with great people in all different venues. And I think we've been able to do that.
Here, let me bring you into the conversation here. You served as a captain last year for that 7-3 team. Coming back, I think most people have been saying that perhaps one of the strengths will be the offensive line, a good core coming back. But as you look back at last year, what do you see as the needs to improve for, let's talk about the offensive line and let's talk about the offense in general.
Yeah, I think when you look at the offense and ways we can improve, I think the thing that we need the most is just consistency. We had flashes last year. We were really good at some points, then we could fall flat at some points. So I think we just need to improve on our consistency, showing up every play, showing up every game, and just performing at the level we all know we're capable of. I think the way we do that is we just have to put in the work day after day. The coaches did a great job of instilling a culture on the team of what we need to be doing, how hard we need to be working. So we just need to follow that, put in the work day after day. We're so excited for the season to get started. So just putting in the work.
Scott, similar question to you. And you've had also an exceptional career up to now, a freshman All-American, all-league player. But as you look at, let's go back to your first year. And then let's look at to what you're anticipating for this year. What have you seen in terms of the improvement on the defensive side of the ball?
Yeah, I would say the biggest improvements would be it's more of a player-led team versus my freshman year. We've kind of developed a culture, as you asked Coach Bagnoli on like how the progression has gone from the player point of view. The culture, as we've gone through the years, has really progressed. And even over COVID, we still continue to try to build that culture of just, consistency, accountability, giving effort every single play. And I think that's kind of going to be an even bigger building block that we'll have this season is we're going to have that team-led culture where, the guys from the bottom are still working hard, but they're coming to us first before they go ask the questions to the coaches. And we're instilling what we've learned into them and then kind of building up off of that. So we just have a more well-rounded team and everyone's kind of grouped together around the same goal.
Coach, what do you think about that? And it's Scott's comments, Stu's comments. What do you think about, as a head coach, the notion of it becoming more of a player-led team? Why is that important?
Oh, I think that's critical. I think if you can get leadership spread out through a variety of people, whether they're seniors or juniors or sophomores, and not everything's being funneled through the coaches, I think that's a really healthy program. So I encourage that. We have leadership council groups. We spend a lot of time on team building and communication stuff and culture and everything else. So to me, I just think that's a natural progression, as we're trying to get to. So it's good to hear Scott say that. So, hopefully it comes to fruition. There'll be less headaches off of my plate.
Yeah. Coach, let me go back to you. We mentioned quarterback Joe Green, the Ivy League Rookie of the Year last year. Mm-hmm. Were you surprised at his emergence through the season, that the progress he made? And then I guess the follow-up to that is, what are you hoping to see from him this season in terms of building on last year?
Yeah, first of all, it's a credit to Joe. I mean, just to refresh your memory, we were not in session during the spring of 21. So we never had a chance to go through spring ball and see what he could do. We never had a chance to actually have off-season workouts that were organized by our strength coaches on campus. So he kind of came in and we had to figure out, what kind of offense we were going to be once we figured out who the quarterback was going to be. And to Joe's credit, he's worked really hard. It was a seamless transition. And we feel so much more comfortable now because we now have a much, much more definitive look at what Joe can and can't do and what he's good at and what he's comfortable with. And he's had a terrific offseason. He's physically progressed, and is probably just as importantly, he has mentally progressed. It'll be his second year in a system. And from our perspective, I think we can just keep adding things on his plate, and he should seamlessly, accept it and do well with it. And I think one of the exciting things is, having a kid that we feel very comfortable with, because we feel really good about the skill kids around him. And so once you feel comfortable that you have the quarterback, then I think it allows you to be a little bit more wide open than what we showed last year. Certainly a little bit more aggressive in our approach than what we showed last year. And hopefully that will result in, some bigger plays and some more explosive plays than what we've had last year.
And Stu, I made a point of asking you about the offensive line first, because as you know, oftentimes offensive linemen are asked about their quarterbacks first. Right? So I wanted to make sure that you guys are all getting the credit that you deserve here. That being said, talk about the quarterback. Talk about Joe Green, and from your perspective on the line, seeing him develop, and what do you think the offense as a whole will be able to do this year, perhaps either more or better, that they weren't able to do last year?
Yeah. When you look at the quarterback and Joe, and I think it's the whole quarterback room in general, I don't think it's just Joe. Joe's obviously the leader in that room, and he's progressed a lot. But I think everyone's really bought into our quarterbacks and what we can do. They've all been here all summer working hard, and they've just made tremendous strides, not only as players, but as leaders on the team, which is awesome to see. When you look at what the offense is trying to do, how it might change, I think I'm just going to echo a lot of what Coach Bagnoli said, maybe be a little more aggressive and change the game plan up a little more from what we were able to do last year, as Joe was a first-year quarterback, and now we have more of an idea of what he can do and where he can fit into our system. So just echo a lot of what Coach Bagnoli said there.
Scott, from your perspective on the other side of the ball, again, you've lost some talent from there. What do you see the defense being able to do better this season, perhaps, than you were able to do last year?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that we're going to be able to do better from last year would be just our intellect of the game. As Coach Bagnoli says, we didn't have that 2021 offseason to get ready to assimilate into the culture, to understand the plays the way we wanted to. And now that we have a lot of guys that freshmen, sophomores that are coming into the system kind of have a feel of what they need to do, we can kind of focus on the why are they doing that. So like I said earlier, it's a player-led team. We have each designated head of each position group, and those heads they come together to formulate what they want to do, why they want to do it. And when we're on the field, it's I see a lot of communication going into what plays being called, what the coaches have given us to work with. And so I think that's going to be like our selling point, is the intellect of the game, whether that's studying film, understanding what our opponent wants to do. We can understand the why of how we want to attack it because we have a better understanding of the playbook.
Coach, let me come back to you for a last question here, and it follows up on something we said before when we were talking about the idea of recruiting and coming to Columbia. Have you found that your ability to bring talented young student athletes has markedly improved by being able to point to guys such as this, Stu and Scott, some guys that you've had recently who have graduated, but perhaps more important, the notion of going back to what I said before, it's not now a surprise when Columbia has a winning season.
Yeah, we've been able to attract some pretty talented kids. And if you just kind of, I mentioned earlier that we had, lost some significant kids that went on as grad transfers, but we have a kid who's a scholarship linebacker at Duke, a scholarship defensive end at Virginia, a kid at South Carolina, a kid at Florida State, a kid at Rhode Island, which maybe wasn't the case 5 years ago or 10 years ago. And again, it's just identifying the right kids, bringing them in here, and then putting them in a culture where they can flourish and develop and turn out to be pretty good players. And I think we've done a pretty good job of doing that. And obviously, you're always trying to build from young kids up. And it's a nice combination of older kids, some talented younger kids that have not had an opportunity yet, that this will be their time, and hopefully supplementing them with, a class coming in. But it's been a fun thing for me. And I think, our entire Columbia University alumni base and family, is excited about where the program is and hopefully moving forward, we can continue to build on it.
Last question for you, Coach. We started off with me asking about, all right, what do you have to get better at to move forward? But you just mentioned, you know, the Columbia University, the community, the players, the fans, being excited coming into this season. What do you think, what would you point to when you would say to them, this is why this is going to be an exciting year for Columbia?
Well, again, it goes back to my earlier statement. I think we have enough demonstrated return in talent that you can actually put on film and watch them successfully compete in our league. And I think that's always a great starting point. And obviously it's a quarterback driven offensive league. So, you know, we feel good about where we are there. And then I think you always need a couple playmakers on defense, you know, whether they're in your front group, your second level, and you need a couple of talented kids on the third level. And I think we have that. And then finally, we have some pretty accomplished specialists returning. You know, we graduated some great kids, but we also have some talented kids such as Alex Falcon's back, you know, that gives you a weapon there. So again, we have enough right across the board on all different levels on offense and defense to be excited. And now it's our job and, you know, to get them to play well, and knock on wood, our key kids remain healthy and we can continue to develop depth and cohesion, you know, not only with the returners, but also the incoming kids, and plug them in and see how far we can take the program.
All right, a couple of quick scheduling notes for you. We lose you. Columbia is going to head up the Hudson to take on Marist in its season opener on Saturday, September 17th at 6 p.m. And certainly we at ESPN will see you all on a Friday night, October 28th, when Yale comes to visit to Columbia. So, so Stu and Scott, thank you very much. Good luck to both of you. Coach Bagnoli, it's always a pleasure chatting with you. Look forward to seeing you during the season. You all be well and stay healthy. Thanks, and good luck.
Thank you.